US election around the world news now. And of course, Andy, the US election doesn't just affect people in the US, it affects everyone on the entire planet. So it's impossible not to have some vested interest in what happens here in November. And though no regime will officially state an opinion on a preferred result, you know that every regime absolutely has one. The Australian Foreign Minister was forced to insist that Australia has good relationships with both political parties after a senior minister in Australia labelled the Tea Party Republicans cranks and crazies. I mean, I guess there's no real way to try and play that off as a compliment, Andy, like some kind of reverse Aussie slang. Oh, calling people cranks and crazies, that's a good thing. You know, like you'd say, oh, fair go, Alan, you're a real crank. How about I buy you a beer, you crazy bastard?
Man,
that's about the nicest thing you can say to anyone if you're an Aussie.
You've been working on your range of accents, John. It's coming on strong.
It's come on strong by one.
What he actually said was, let's be blunt, and acknowledge that the biggest threat to the world's biggest economy are the cranks and crazies that have taken over the Republican Party.
Oh.
That is even harder to see that as a compliment.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fact, but it's not a compliment.
So the Australian Minister Bob Carr in question was forced to then go on television and say, I think anyone who's followed Republican Party politics and they've been on display during the very vigorous primary process would see that the Tea Party is one strand among several in Republican Party politics. I mean, that is true, Andy, but to be biologically fair, it's a pretty dominant strand, and it's mutated far beyond the point that you could take that strand out without killing the party completely. Benjamin Netanyahu, however, he seems to be backing a very different donkey. He has appeared to be expressing a preference for his old chum Mitt Romney, whilst his relationship with President Obama has deteriorated from bad to brutal. So that seems to place the high-profile country endorsements at 1-for-1 for each candidate. Now, Francois Hollande, the Prime Minister of France, initially refused to say who he would prefer to win in the US election, but then seemed to drop a hint by saying he wasn't worried about not meeting President Obama in New York during the UN last week because he imagined that there would be plenty of time for that after November. Ouch! Ouch! Take that, Romney. France aren't even considering the possibility of you being president. Although nothing could hurt Obama's chances of re-election in the US more than an endorsement from a French socialist. That isn't so much an act of support as potentially the kiss of death.
Maybe that explains his debate performance.
Yes,
been
exactly.
Told what Hollande had said. Netanyahu appeared in advertisements in Israel, which featured the slogan, "The world needs American strength, not apologies." Substitute the word "and" for "not," and you might be closer to the truth. The comments were described by the Obama administration as, quote, crude, vulgar and unrestrained intervention in the US election campaign. And let's not forget, John, that crude, vulgar and unrestrained interventions are not the business of overseas leaders. They are the business of the Republican and Democratic candidates and their campaign teams. So butt the out, Netanyahu.
Yes.